All right, so good afternoon. This is Jason Wright again. I'm not sure what my YouTube channel is. However, I'm going to pick up where I left off. All right, that some rules are not meant to be followed, or some rules just are. And I want to start off with some personal experiences of when I broke rules at home. Some of these rules I knew about that were not to be broken, and others I didn't know that I had broken until after I was told in effect with an E of how they affected with an A those in my household. That my pops may have just not only been speaking of him for him, but of my mother as well. And I'll start off with that violation of rule at home. I was in my late 20s. I moved back to Texarkana. I was in the process of getting a job at Walsh Healthcare Solutions and back and forth between Houston to pick up some items that Ricky and Paul had placed in storage for me since I just upped and left without even a blink of an eye. The example I'm speaking of is an evening I bring another man home and we sleep together in the study. And that morning I get up and Robert is either still in the study or he's outside, I'm not sure, but my father hits the roof, and rightfully so, by the way. And even though at the time I didn't think it was justified, I took it almost as being wounded and in shock, but me being justified in my actions, I used perhaps the same word back at him, cussing, which we never did that, by basically saying, "Fuck you, Dad, I'm not listening to what you say." This is what he told me, using the F word, and I don't know exactly how it was placed. He may have been saying, in essence, "You're not going to fuck another man." He didn't say that. He said, "You're not going to sleep with another man underneath my roof in my house. You're just not going to do it." And I had already done it, y'all. But the lesson or the rule break is this: if I had listened to my internal warning system before I did something, I knew that that was not the right thing to do, that it was not kosher, that I was not supposed to do it. Even though it had never been said, I knew that I was doing something, I was treading water, right? And that morning, boy, did I sink to the bottom, all right? It's something that Dad and I have, or Father and I haven't spoken about since. And Dad, I'm sorry if you're watching this video or not for breaking yours and Mom's rule about that. I did not listen to my internal warning system, and I did what I wanted to do. Call it a sense of maturity late in life. We go through these things, I'm finding as an adults in our late 20s, early 30s. I was in my early 30s then, y'all. Some of us go through that in our teenage years, adolescent years, maybe even before. Testing or bucking and not even knowing it. The rebellious years. Another rule, curfew. Most of the time I made it in on curfew, but sometimes, I squeaked in, and sometimes I was late and I would tiptoe in. So I didn't always make curfew. I have driven my vehicle under the influence of alcohol drunk. Another example was I wound up in the Montrose district in Houston. Driving home, I had to pee. I had to use the bathroom, so I pull over in a neighborhood on North Shepherd, and I relieve myself, and I passed out in this man's or woman's front yard. Come to with the dew on my face the next morning, and have to hurry home and get ready for work and get into the office. All right. That's another rule that I've broken. And I took others' lives in jeopardy by getting behind the wheel and thinking that I could make it home. It just so happens that I didn't get back behind the wheel and I passed out. All right. Remember, if you're out drinking, at least at the clubs, they used to have a system in place where they would call a cab. JR's Bar and Grill in Houston did. They would call a cab for you and they would get you home free of charge. Not even just only on New Year's. It was something that they did as a courtesy, all right, for their customers. Another rule. I had a thought of another one or two. I can't think of it now. But going back to, for example, the sign says, "Absolutely no loitering," and here I am breaking the rules. So let me